Hey everyone, this is Holly from Hot Humble Pie. Welcome to my fall series. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I'd love it if you click that button. So it's been a while since I've done a coffee can craft, and I thought it would be fun to do. I used the coffee can from Walmart. My Walmart still sells coffee cans in their brand of coffee. Kirkland's, if you go to Costco, still sells coffee cans. You can also get Kirkland brand coffee on Amazon. And one of my subscribers came on last year and said that the paint cans at Home Depot, Lowe's, etc., like home improvement stores, are super cheap and would make a great substitute. You can also go to restaurants and ask them to save you one. There's a couple options there, but I love coffee can crafts. I have a whole video on it. If you missed it, I'll be leaving that link down below in my description box as well. It's a great video. So I'm just starting off with some of my homemade chalk paint, and I'm giving this a nice thick coat of white paint. And here's a free printable that I created for you. It will be down below in my description box, and you can get that as well. And I started out by just cutting it with some scissors, and then I'm going to go ahead and use Mod Podge to stick it down. Now the trick here with the coffee can, if it has grooves like this, is you do have to use Mod Podge. The glue stick will not work. For those of you that watch my channel, you know I love the glue stick, and it's so great for so many applications. It doesn't leave wrinkles because it's a very dry glue, and you can always seal it in with a varnish and then put Mod Podge on top. You know, there's lots of things you can do with that. And some people wrote, oh, you can also iron things down on Mod Podge, but I always like to take, I mean, that's a great tip, but I always like to take the fastest, easiest way. So with this one, you do need a wet sponge ready to go, not too wet. And you do need to use Mod Podge, and you do have to press really hard, not so hard that you tear the paper, but hard enough to make sure that you don't have any wrinkles, and it will take shape to those little grooves. And see how I'm kind of deliberately sticking the sponge in those grooves, and it works beautifully. So also one thing you want to do as well is you don't want to, like if you sense that your sponge has the Mod Podge on it a little bit, try not to use that side of the sponge, switch it around, use different sides, because you can accidentally tear it or lift it up if it gets too sticky from the Mod Podge. These are some Dollar Tree spoons. I had bought them for an Easter craft. I was going to actually do something really cute, and I might do it next year, so I'm not going to tell you, it's a surprise, but I had another idea for an equally cute craft. In fact, this is my favorite craft in this video. I love this. I look at it every morning when I get up to have my tea and my breakfast, and it gives me such a good feeling. So well, I didn't have the right color, so I just took some regular green paint and regular orange paint and mixed it in with white paint until I got these nice, soft, kind of muted colors. And then I used the color Antique Parchment from Apple Barrel Paint to get my nice cream color. And I'm painting both the front and the back of these spoons. And then I take some of my antiquing wax. Any antiquing wax will work. I'm using the one from Folk Art. I love that one. And I'm just going to go ahead and kind of do a quick little faux wood on the handle there. And then you're also going to see me go up and distress the top of the spoons with the wax as well. I'm also using the antique wax to go ahead and distress my little coffee can and make it look a little more fallish. I don't know if that's a word, fallish, but I want it to look more like the colors of autumn. I personally love the colors of autumn, and I love to keep that in my decor. For me anyway, that's like the whole purpose of decorating for autumn, is so that you can have those colors in your home in abundance, because it just brings that warmth and that coziness into your home. So I'm just using this brush, tapping it on lightly, smearing it, and just doing it by eye, relaxing. Take your time if you do this and have fun. Next, I'm using a regular old pencil. You don't have to use anything fancy for this, and I'm just going to kind of color in some grooves here to make, we're making pumpkins here, like a little mini pumpkin patch. And the pencil works just fine to add that character there. And then I take the raffia that I've spoken about a lot on my channel. It comes in a set of 3. It's also down below in my description box if you're interested. It comes in green, red, and this traditional color here. And I just double looped it and then tied a bow. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut the craft sticks. Well, I did cut the craft sticks, and then I cut them at the angle on the top to kind of imitate the pumpkin stem, and I'm just going to glue them on the top of the plastic spoons. And then I'm just using the furniture pen from the Dollar Tree. If you guys haven't gotten those, make sure you pick those up. They are so great for quick and handy, like distressing or staining. That is the color walnut. It comes in like a redwood type color and a black color. My favorite's the walnut one. I use the black one occasionally, but I haven't used the red one yet. But next I'm going to take the Spanish moss and I'm just going to kind of crunch it up in my hand. I'm going to add it at the top of the pumpkin near the stem there. And then we're also going to add it at the bottom just to create a little bit more of the shape of the pumpkins, like the illusion to the eye, so it's not so oblong. And then I went ahead and I added some tissue paper at the bottom. You could use a plastic bag. I chose tissue paper so that I can kind of puncture it. I actually stuck my scissors through the Spanish moss and poked some holes down there to get these little guys to stand up straight. But we're all done and I absolutely love this. Here's a trade that my daughter-in-law got, but she didn't care for the color of it, and she gave it to me. And I do like the harvest home on the front with the burlap. I think that's so cute. So this is a little too difficult to sand because there's too many little intricate corners and it's just a small piece of wood. So I'm going to go ahead and slap a coat of white paint on it. That's another way that you can change the stain, is just to get some white paint on there. But I think I'm going to go ahead and distress this, just kind of make it more my style, I guess. And we're going to go ahead and paint the outside and the inside of this crate. Next, using the antique wax, I'm going to go around and start to make it look like an aged old crate. And that's what it ends up looking like. I absolutely love it, but what would a crate be without some seasonal decor in it? So I'm just dumping some pine cones in here. I'm going to put some pine cones, some pumpkins, some leaves, just some different decor for fall. It comes up so cute. Now, what I didn't film and I end up doing, you know, because we were looking at it, kind of studying it, and I thought, you know what, I think this would look good with a little bit of greenery. So I do add a little bit of boxwood here and there, or I think it's eucalyptus, sorry. I use a little bit of eucalyptus that I got from the Dollar Tree. And these velvet pumpkins, my daughter-in-law just bought a whole bunch of these last year, so I'm using them up. And I think this came up so cute. Well, you'll see in the final reveal. Here's a mason jar that I snapped up during the Valentine's Day time because they often disappear during the fall time in my Dollar Trees, and they are perfect, of course, for this season and Christmas. So this time when I saw them, I grabbed them up. So actually I only got one, so let's hope they come out again. So I haven't actually checked my Dollar Tree to see if there's any right now. But I'm using some needle nose and just taking off that metal part and a blow dryer to remove this sticker. Thanks for the tip someone gave me a long time ago. I think it was last year, but it works great. I also used tweezers initially to gently pry that because I find those metal pieces bend really easy. So I just kind of stuck some tweezers under there and, you know, was lifting it a little bit. And then I did needle nose. So here's a free printable. It'll be down below my description box, of course, and I'm just using the water trick here where you paint the water and then you tear it off. For a long time I avoided this because it used to spread and mess up my ink, but I got a new paintbrush that I'm using and I noticed it's not doing that anymore, so now I'm thinking it might have been the paintbrush. I think maybe it just held too much water and drenched my paper by accident. And so I'm going to use a glue stick for this one so that we don't get any wrinkles, and I apply it generously. That's just a Dollar Tree glue stick. Any glue stick will work. And I'm going to put my little sign down. Now, in my mind, I was thinking apple butter with this, and last year I made one that was white, like with a shiplap, and those are just really, really common, so I wanted to do something different. You know, I want to change up my decor and have different things going on each time. So this time I did it kind of with the feel of apple butter. I actually love apple butter. There was this place I used to go to that sold nothing but apple stuff, and they had the most amazing apple butter. Anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and put the antiquing wax on, and then I do take a little bit of white paint to go over that just to kind of tone it down just a little bit so it's not so dark. But I really love that, you know, the way this came out. It definitely gives a nice warm feeling, and on the camera right now it actually looks darker. In real life it's more softer. I don't know why, maybe the camera, because it's in 4K, it's picking up like too many details, but in real life it's very soft and kind of muted and very pretty. So I went ahead and I glued the metal piece back on the top, and I'm wrapping some of the Dollar Tree jute twine around the top because it gives me another surface to glue my bows to that's a little bit more sturdy than just the metal. And I'm taking some of the Dollar Tree ribbon in the burlap, and I'm also using the baker's twine again. I really love the little splash of color that this gives and the different feel and texture. I'm using it in green, and then I went ahead and combined it. You can see what I'm doing. I went ahead and combined it with the burlap ribbon, and then the bow at the top I actually spun around my fingers with the jute twine and made another bow with some more of the little baker's twine. And then look at this. Look how cute and perfect that is for something with the theme of apples because it's red and green. I love this. Now I also save my leaves from my florals. I recommend you guys do the same. My favorites are usually the ones from the roses because they pass for fall leaves, and they pass in this instance for apple leaves. So I thought it would be fun to add some little apple leaves at the top. I'm going to go ahead and hot glue them down and tack them so that they're in a nice position. Next, I'm going to go ahead and take the color Burnt Umber from Apple Barrel. It's one of my favorites. If you follow my channel, you figured that out. And I'm just going to kind of tap it on the ends and a little bit in the center, but I'm trying to make it look more like apple leaves because apple leaves usually do have some browning and imperfections, and I think it just looks more authentic this way. I'm just using one of the Dollar Tree furniture pens here and distressing the edges. I'm using the one this time in the color black. Lastly, I tied on some of the nautical rope for a hanger, and I'm just burning off the extra hairs, and we're all done. For this next project, I just went up to my TV screen this time, not my computer screen, and I actually traced out a pumpkin shape. And then I traced that onto some cardboard, and I'm going to cut 3 of them out all together. Now, this is not part of my project, but I want to show you guys something neat you can do. I don't know if you know you can do this. You can take the paper off the top of your pumpkin, and you get these neat serrated little edges. You could also sand them to make them smooth. So that's an option that you can paint and do different colors in case you don't have paper or you don't have material. You can make some really cute pumpkins doing that, and they also make great faux galvanizing pumpkins. So I'm using a cereal box. Now you can use poster board for this, but cereal boxes are free. I wanted my surface to be nice and smooth. So I just took this old cereal box, cut it out and put it on top, and now I'm using my glue stick and I'm going to glue down each one of these papers that I printed. Those will also be free printables for you down below in my description box. Next, I'm just going to go ahead and decorate these pumpkins using some of the raffia. I'm going to use, I do a little bit of a different style on each pumpkin, but I'm going to use some of the brown raffia, or maybe that's tan raffia, for the first pumpkin, and then I'm going to use a green bow on that one. Now at first I'm thinking if I do green bows on every single one of these, it will suffice for pumpkin leaves, but then I realize afterwards it's not quite meeting the expectation that I kind of wanted. So here I go, I'm going to put some at the top here, cut it down, and I end up shaving this one down really short because it just isn't quite working out the way I wanted it to. But everything comes out super, super cute at the end, but that's how I started, so I just wanted to explain to you how it got there. And then for the other two pumpkins, I used the raffia to do the edges. So for the first pumpkin, I chose to do some of the strands from the nautical rope I pulled apart, and I just spun them and kind of twisted them because that one's going to be in the middle and I wanted it to be a little different. And then for the other two, I used the raffia around the edges. You can edge it with whatever you want. You can even use spackling if you want. That looks really good because then it looks like ceramic or something, especially if you paint it. But I'm just adding some more of the jute twine. I'm adding some leftover ribbon right there from the Hobby Lobby, 50% off. That's my last piece right there. I thought it would be cute as a little accent. And then here I'm cutting up some of the boxwood that I got from Amazon for little leaves. I love using the boxwood for little pumpkin leaves when I make these kind of crafts. And just like I did with the other leaf for the apple, I am going to go ahead and take burnt umber and stain those up a little bit as well. There I go. There's my burnt umber. And of course, I used a little bit of fire to try and burn the hair off, but I have to be careful because this is a paper craft and I don't want the whole thing to torch. But there I go. I'm just using, there it is. That's what it looks like. Isn't that look good? Next, I have these votive candles left over from another craft that I did for Valentine's Day from the Dollar Tree, and I thought they would be so cute for this craft too. But I want to make them look a little more woodsy, so I paint them with my homemade chalk paint, let it dry thoroughly, and now I'm just dry brushing on some of the antique wax until we get this kind of look. And it doesn't have to be like perfect wood. I'm just looking for a warmer color than see-through glass. I just thought it would be, something different. And I'm taking some of the Spanish moss. I'm going to kind of crunch it in my hand, and you'll watch me kind of try, and I want this to droop around the edge kind of gracefully, like a weeping willow, I guess, if I can. So you'll see me kind of push it inside the votive cup and then press it down the side because I'm actually breaking the little stems so that they'll lay flatter, or as flat as I can get them. And I do that in each cup. And then I also add some Spanish moss behind each pumpkin as well. Lastly, you're going to go ahead and see me put a little dot of hot glue on either side of these votives. I kind of put it in the Spanish moss and it hits wherever it hits. It's either the moss or the glass, but it works to hold these up straight. So that's what I'm after. And that's it. We're all done and they came up so beautiful. If you had fun today, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And as always, you guys, until the next video, breathe deep, fret not, and do things that make you happy.